Czechoslovakia III from Athens, Georgia, would look at me and say, well, Isaiah may have been a man of unclean lips, but you are a woman of unclean lip. You might notice I only have one that really protrudes. I thought, oh, she's right. Well, legend says that every member of the military has been given the same advice for ages, and that advice is never volunteer. Now, I didn't quite understand why, so I looked up the reasons on the computer, and some said that no one was supposed to be standing apart from what was meant to be a cohesive unit, and to stand apart would draw attention to yourself rather than the unit. The goal was to protect each other's backs, so you always wanted to be next to someone so they could protect you and you could protect them. Never volunteer because assignments were either really awful or really dangerous. So just don't volunteer and you avoid nasty duty and danger. I have to say, I wonder today about the advice to never volunteer, because our military forces are all volunteer forces. There's no longer draft or conscription. I hope we never see that again, or that there's a need to see it again. But different people join the military for different reasons. Some, and again, I looked this up online, so it has to be true. Some sign up for the pay and benefits. Others sign up to follow a family tradition. And every volunteer has their reason for stepping forward to say, here I am, send me. On this Memorial Weekend Sunday, my question for all of us is, why do we volunteer? And if we never volunteer, why don't we? Isaiah the prophet was a priest in the city of Jerusalem during a very troubled time during that nation's history. The Babylonian army was invading the northern half of the nation, and as it invaded, it either destroyed everything in sight or captured everyone in sight. Even though destruction was taking place and their people were sacrificing their lives or being dragged off into servitude, the wealthy and the rulers in Jerusalem were not really overly concerned. After all, they had made a treaty with a different nation that would help to defend them when Jerusalem and the surrounding area was attacked. So they went on living the dream while the peasants and the poor in the rural areas of the nation faced death and destruction. Now, to get that protection from other nations, the rulers and the wealthy had agreed to worship the idols of the other nations with whom they made the treaties. And they decided they may as well just ignore the laws of Moses in the ways they conducted business. They felt they were safe because they thought God would protect them, because throughout all the troubles they still made sure that sacrifices were made at the temple every morning and every afternoon, just like Moses said they ought to. And the feast days that Moses prescribed were regularly held in the city. The rulers figured that that alone should be enough to keep God happy. God was not happy, because the rulers and the wealthy were only going through the motions of being faithful. Isaiah wasn't happy either, because he knew he was the priest of a nation that was unclean. So when God asked who could be sent to warn the rulers and the wealthy to return to God or face the consequences, Isaiah immediately said, "Here I am, send me." He volunteered at a time when the only sensible thing to do was to pack up and run away from Jerusalem as fast and as far as he could run. So on this Memorial Sunday, I cannot help but wonder why Isaiah or anyone else volunteers for anything. What causes us to step forward and give our time, our talents, and our money when we really don't have to? Why do we volunteer even when the outcome seems iffy or uncertain at best? My nephew Ekachai joined the Army right after he graduated from high school. Ekachai spent the first 10 years of his life in eastern Thailand. That was a time when the Khmer Rouge was trying to expand its influence from Cambodia to the north. And as a child, Ekachai lived in an orphanage. And he had one backpack into which he kept all his stuff. And every time the Khmer Rouge got too close, the kids in the orphanage were told to put all their stuff in their backpack and march through the jungle to get to the next safe place. As they marched through the jungle, Ekachai and all the other children in that orphanage saw things no human being should ever see. They saw things no child should really ever see. So when Ekachai was thinking about what to do after high school, the army sounded good to him. And when I asked him why he joined the army, he said, as I was growing up, I saw some very, very bad people in Thailand. And I know some people say that you can talk reason and negotiate with very bad people. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes there are very, very bad people, and the only way to get them to stop is by returning their violence with violence greater than theirs. He took the oath because Ekachai felt called to stand up against very, very bad people. And he took the oath to protect the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, because Ekachai believes in the Army's mission. Now, this is a congregation of volunteers, and I don't know if you realize how very special that is. I came here from a congregation that believed they paid staff to do all the work. I left soon after I got there. Because as Christians, we are all called to do the work of God. And you all are very special because when there is a need expressed, you step up. I don't care if that need is making pies to celebrate John Larson's life. That's next Saturday from 1 to 4. I don't care if it's a funeral dinner or putting boxes together for an above ground, for a raised garden. I don't care if it's a rummage sale or folding newspapers or knitting prayer shawls, or caring for kids in the nursery, or answering phones in the office, or calling people. Whenever you are asked, you step up and you volunteer. You've said repeatedly and repeatedly, here I am. The men in our church have stepped up to take down the stage in Fellowship Hall, to build the front of this, take away the organ wall so that we could have the front of this sanctuary. When you're asked, you step up. And we all have different reasons for volunteering. Some of us volunteer to keep busy, especially this past year. We got a lot of calls while people were told to stay at home. Got anything you need me to do in the office? Anything? Some of us volunteer so we can spend time with our friends, and some of us just need a reason to get out of the house. And some of us really just have trouble saying no, even when we really want to say no, and we end up volunteering. And those are all good reasons for volunteering. However, I believe most of us here at Lakeshore volunteer because we believe in the mission Jesus gave us. We truly want to show love for each other. We believe that the most meaningful thing we can do in our lives is serve God by serving God's people and God's creation. We believe in the mission of the church. We look forward to the vision of helping build the kingdom of God right here in our little corner of the earth. I've long held a firm belief that when a compelling mission and vision are presented to a group of people, we simply cannot stop them from giving their time and their money. When a compelling mission is presented to a group of people, we just can't stop them from giving their time and their money. When we believe in what we are called to do, we cannot stop ourselves from saying, here I am. We may say we volunteer for a lot of reasons, boredom, a need to get out of the house, everything else under the sun, but I truly believe that no one volunteers for anything unless we believe in the mission and the vision of the organization. And like every other congregation, Lakeshore wants to reach out and engage younger people to come to our congregation. True?
Yes.
Yeah, we'd love to have a church filled with not just people with my hair color, but people who genuinely have darker hair colors. Now, as we move forward, I urge you to spend the time and energy necessary to name a mission and a vision that will inspire people, younger people and older people beyond our walls, to join our work here at Lakeshore. You see, most people beyond our walls don't understand what it means to make new disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. That's our current mission, by the way. Most people don't understand the word transformation because, first of all, it has way too many syllables. And most people haven't experienced anything transforming in their lives. It's a word that has no meaning. And making new disciples, first of all, who wants to be a disciple? Isn't that what Jim Jones did? So who wants to make a new disciple? Who wants to be a disciple? And the whole idea of doing it to make new disciples of Jesus Christ, a lot of people are suspicious of anything that smacks of Christianity right now. All of it is way too, it's language nobody uses, and it's way too churchy. I mean, when we go up to invite people to come to church, do we say it's because we want to make new disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world? Anybody ever say that to anybody else? I don't. When I invite somebody to come to church, it's because they've told me that they're looking for something meaningful to do with their lives. Hey, we've got this project going on. We'd love it if you come join us. Or somebody has mentioned that they're just feeling really alone, kind of lonely. Hey, we've got a great group of people that would love to get to know you. Or somebody is saying, I'd really love to learn more about this subject. Hey, we're having a study about that right now. Love to welcome you. I really want to sing. Oh, this is a singing congregation. I never once said, come to church because we make new disciples of Jesus Christ for the transformation of the world. Never once. That is not a compelling mission or vision. So what is? We have to learn the language of those who are not already engaged in serving God through a Christian congregation. We have to learn the language of those who are beyond the church building. So this summer, I have an assignment for you. Please, 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 take the time to engage your friends, your families, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, their friends, anybody you encounter in a conversation about what they're doing that they find meaningful and enjoyable. Meaningful and enjoyable. And then take note of the words they use. Because those are the words that we want to put into a new vision and a new mission for this congregation. So that when we encounter somebody who's new to town, we can say, you know, this is what our congregation does. If it were up to me, and I had to make up something today, I would say, we just want to make the world a better place. We want to make our community a better place. We want to help people. How many people would leap forward to say, I do too? But listen to the words being used around, and take time then. Take time to use the words and ideas they use, within reason, of course, to create a new and compelling mission and vision statement for people outside our church, for our younger people in our communities, because everybody is looking for something meaningful. Everybody needs a cause. I'm going on a long time, and I'm really just getting to preaching, so, oh good, I got 20 minutes yet. Because I don't know about you, but when I was in my teenage years, it was in the late 60s and early 70s, and man, we had a cause. We were going to bring peace to the world, we were going to change the world, there was going to be equality between the races, and we joined in with enthusiasm. I still question authority. If you don't believe it, think about how I talk about the book of discipline. The book of really good suggestions, except when they're not. Let's think about what it would take to get young people in our community excited about the mission and vision of Lakeshore. And those are the words to use. It's not entertainment. Kids have entertainment all over the world. It's not about goofing around. Believe me, I can still goof around anywhere. I don't know that you've noticed. but it's about doing something meaningful and making the world a better place. And that's exactly what we're called to do as followers of Jesus Christ. We are called to love one another as Jesus has loved us. We are called to build the kingdom of God right here, right now, not when we get to heaven, not when Jesus comes back, but right here and right now. I'm going to settle down now. See, we know why we volunteer. It's time to name a mission and a vision that gives others a reason. Because when we have a compelling mission and vision, we cannot stop people from giving their time, their abilities, and their money. Amen.